When did you know your marriage was over? My sister lost her life in a car accident and left behind 2 kids. My husband Graham and I said of course we'd take them in. The kids moved in 3 days after the funeral. My niece Waverly was 10 and my nephew Jonah was 7, and they showed up with 2 garbage bags full of clothes and faces that looked like they'd forgotten how to make expressions. Waverly held Jonah's hand so tight her knuckles were white. Graham helped carry their stuff to the guest room and said, "You're safe here. We're going to take care of you." That first week he really tried. He made pancakes and asked about their favorite movies and even took Jonah to buy new shoes. I thought we were going to be okay. Then the reality set in. Jonah had nightmares every single night. He'd wake up screaming for his mom and I'd hold him until he fell back asleep. Graham started sleeping in the guest room because he said he couldn't function at work without rest. Waverly stopped eating, and I had to sit with her for an hour at every meal just to get her to take a few bites. Graham said she was being dramatic and just wanted attention. I said she watched her mother's casket go into the ground 2 weeks ago. He said, "I'm just saying she's milking it at this point." Jonah started wetting the bed. The doctor said it was trauma-related and completely normal, but Graham acted like it was a personal insult. He made comments about the laundry and the smell and how Jonah was too old for this. I said he's 7 and his mother just died. Graham said, "He's been here a month. When does this end?" It didn't end. Jonah kept having accidents, and Graham started making him strip his own sheets in the morning as punishment. Waverly heard Graham tell me he hadn't signed up to raise someone else's broken kids, and she stopped talking to him completely. She'd only speak to me and would leave the room whenever Graham walked in. Graham said she was disrespectful. I said she was protecting herself. He said, "From what? We took her in. She should be grateful we didn't let her go to foster care." The comments got worse. Graham called Jonah a baby when he cried during a movie that reminded him of his mom. He told Waverly she was acting like a brat when she asked if we could visit her mother's grave on her birthday. He'd sigh loudly whenever they walked into a room and check his watch like he was counting down until they left. One night I heard him on the phone with his brother saying, "I didn't marry her to become a foster parent. These kids are destroying my life and she doesn't even care how hard this is on me." I stood in the hallway shaking with rage. Waverly was standing right behind me. She'd heard everything. She looked at me with these empty eyes and whispered, "We can go. We'll figure something out. I don't want to ruin your marriage." She was 10 years old, offering to leave so she wouldn't be a burden. I told her absolutely not, and that this was her home now and nothing would change that. The next night, Jonah spilled juice on the carpet in the living room. It was an accident. He was reaching for the remote and knocked his cup over. Graham stood over him and screamed, "Do you have any idea how much that carpet cost? What is wrong with you?" Jonah started crying and Graham got right in his face and said, "Stop crying. You're not a baby. Apologize right now for being so careless." Jonah was sobbing so hard he couldn't speak. He tried to say sorry, but he was choking on his own tears. Graham said, "I can't even understand you. Say it properly or go to your room until you can act like a normal kid." I stepped between them and said, "Get out." Graham laughed and said I was overreacting over spilled juice. I said, "You just screamed at a 7-year-old orphan and demanded he apologize for crying about his dead mother. You're done." He said, "You're choosing these kids over our marriage?" I said, "I'm choosing them over you without a single second of hesitation, and I'd do it 1,000 times again." He said, "They're not even your kids." I said, "They're more my family than you've ever been. You showed me exactly who you are." He started stammering about how stressed he'd been and how we could go to counseling. I said, "You called them broken. You made a grieving child strip his own sheets as punishment. You made my niece feel so unwanted she offered to leave so she wouldn't be a burden. There's no counseling for that." He said, "Where am I supposed to go?" I said, "I don't care. You have 5 minutes to get out or I'm calling the police." He stood there waiting for me to take it back. I pulled out my phone and started dialing. He grabbed his keys and walked out. I picked up Jonah and held him against my chest. Waverly came out of her room and wrapped her arms around both of us. I said, "That man is never coming back. This is your home and no one will ever make you feel unwanted here again. We're divorced now. I adopted both kids and they're doing great."